Good evening. I'll bring this first public hearing on the millage and budget meeting to order. If we could please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Mayor McPartlin?
Here.
Vice Mayor Jones?
Here.
Councilmember Dodd? Here. And Councilmember Nunn?
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Madam Attorney, I guess you're going to advise us on the procedures.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. In accordance with Florida statutes, we will be holding a first millage and budget hearing tonight. This is the first of two millage and budget hearings. Tonight, we're dealing with the tentative millage and tentative budget. During the next budget hearing, which is tentatively set for, where's that date? September 24th, 2025. Subject to City Council approval, you will be considering the final millage rate and final budget at that time. This hearing is pursuant to Florida Statute Section 200.065, Method of Fixing Millage, subsection 2C, which reads in part, prior to the conclusion of the hearing, the governing body of the taxing authority shall amend the tentative budget as it sees fit, adopt the amended tentative budget, recompute its proposed millage rate, and publicly announce the percent, if any, by which the recomputed proposed millage rate exceeds the rolled back rate computed pursuant to subsection 1. That percent shall be characterized as the percentage increase in property taxes tentatively adopted by the governing body. Subsection 2D reads in part, within 15 days after the meeting adopting the tentative budget, the taxing authority shall advertise its intent to finally adopt a millage rate and budget along with the final hearing date. In no event may the millage rate adopted pursuant to this paragraph exceed the millage rate tentatively adopted pursuant to paragraph C. Subsection 2E1 indicates that in these hearings, the first substantive issue discussed shall be the percentage increase in millage over the rolled back rate necessary to fund the budget, if any, and the specific purposes for which ad valorem tax revenues are being increased. During such discussion, the governing body shall hear comments regarding the proposed increase and explain the reasons for the proposed increase over the rolled back rate. The general public shall be allowed to speak and ask questions prior to the adoption of any measures by the governing body. The governing body shall adopt its tentative or final millage rate prior to adopting its tentative or final budget. So while I'm reading these together, the law requires that you must consider the millage rate first before the budget and make separate motions. So tonight you will be considering resolutions number R2531 and R2532. Resolution R2531, adopting the tentative millage for calendar year 2025. It's titled as follows: a resolution of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, adopting a tentative millage of 3.4455 mils for the calendar year 2025, providing for conflicts, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Resolution R2532 reads as follows: a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, adopting the tentative budget for the fiscal year beginning on October 1, 2025 and ending on September 30th, 2026, making appropriations for the payment of operating expenses, capital expenses, and for principal and interest payments on indebtedness of the city in the city's general fund, special revenue funds, capital improvement funds, golf course fund, airport fund, and building fund, as provided for in Schedule A attached here to, establishing authority of the city manager to implement the budget, providing for conflicts, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
Bless you.
So at this point, having read those, the city manager will be proceeding with the tentative millage rate.
All right, thank you. So I'll announce that the fiscal year 25-26 tentative millage of 3.4455 is recommended, which in accordance with state statutes is 14.29% higher than the computed rollback millage. These revenues will be applied to general fund expenditures projected for fiscal year 25-26.
All right, thank you. Mr. Stewart, you have a presentation.
I do.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, so this is the presentation on the proposed 2026 budget and tentative millage. This is the first hearing, and the second hearing will be held on, there's an error on the slide. It'll be on Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. And tonight we'll talk about the current factors affecting the budget, the summary of the general fund budget, enterprise and special revenue and other funds, and capital improvement program and property values and millage. Some current factors affecting this year's budget. Health insurance premiums were up 7%. Our property liability and workman's comp came in at $327,000 lower across all funds. The police contract coming to council on September 24th, and the supervisors' union negotiations are still ongoing. Non-union pay employees increase of 6% is included in this budget. The maintenance worker positions, new pay grades, and additional adjustments are included also. There are no new positions in this budget. There's a position transfer, a reclassification from maintenance worker 2 to heavy equipment mechanic, and the new retirement plan has been accounted for in this budget. Looking at the general fund increases and decreases, on personnel costs, you have a $992,000 increase in personnel costs, $207,000 increase in operating expenditures, and a $584,000 decrease in capital items and projects, for a net increase of $614,000 or 3.2%. Looking at the golf course, the projected expenses over revenues of $155,442. The revenue is projected conservatively, even with the new rates, and $100,000 is shown as a repayment to the general fund. The restaurant lease remains at $30,000. Airport rent remains at $107,000. $37,397 principal and interest on the $700,000 building fund loan, and $200,000 for a cart barn replacement moved into FY26. Looking at your airport fund, your projected expenses over revenues of $78,332. Property rental revenue expected to increase with the rental of the new square hangars. You have loans from the discretionary sales tax fund, the Hangar A principal remaining balance of $213,495 at 9/30/26, and Hangar B's principal remaining balance will be $213,408 at 9/30/26. You have grant matching from the airport fund, $50,000 for the design of the taxiway golf, $27,750 for the construction of the terminal apron expansion, $50,000 for the design of the northwest access for expansion, and grant matching from the district sales tax fund of $197,520 for the construction of the taxiway golf. Over the following 5 years, $1,010,000 for the matching on the construction of the taxiway golf, runway 1028 rehab, security fiber network upgrades, construction of northwest expansion, and design taxiway Alpha rehab and taxiway Bravo rehab. On your building fund, you have projected expenses over revenues of $456,172. Permit revenues are starting to level off, expecting $37,397 principal and interest. Payment on the golf course loans, the $700,000 loan will be $428,522 by 9/30/26, that should say. $559,684 loan to be repaid after the $700,000. On our ARPA fund, originally allocated to Gardenia Ditch, Schuman Drive, Concha Dam, employee retention payments and road work. It was obligated by December 31st, 2024, and it must be totally spent by December 31st, 2026. The improvement projects need plans and permitting, which requires some time, and road work completed in 2025. Gardenia Ditch and Schuman Drive projects are ongoing. Your local option gas tax fund, projecting collections at 1% annual increase for future years, are being used for all road preservation and associated swell work as scheduled in the current paving management program. A funding road condition assessment in FY26, railroad crossing maintenance, and sidewalk work. And our discretionary sales tax fund are projecting collections at 1% annual increases for future years. They're being used for road reconstruction and associated swell work as scheduled in the current paving management program. And it's also funding MIF's infrastructure, police vehicles and equipment, AC replacements, police department roof repair replacement work, Main Street boat ramp dredging, vehicle and equipment shelter at the Public Works compound, major construction vehicles and equipment, and matching funds for the FFA and FDOT grants. On our riverfront CRA fund, our operating expenditures include audit fees, administration, working waterfront improvements, other facility maintenance, submerged land leases, consulting fees, travel and education costs, legal ads, state fee, association dues, and landfill fees on Fisherman's Landing. Also, landscape is handled in-house, Fisherman Landing and working waterfront projects through FY27, and Central Avenue Catalyst site in FY28. On the Recreation Impact Fee Fund, we have unspecified improvements of $5,000 per zone, $80,000 in playground improvements budgeted in FY26, and projected 2026 fund balance is $207,787, providing revenue estimates hold true. On Stormwater Utility Fund, personnel and operating accounts are exceeding the revenues from fees by $75,933. Capital includes mini excavator, a zero-turn mower, slip lining, or pipe replacement. On our Law Enforcement Forfeiture Fund, they're used only for unbudgeted items. Specific items needs council approval, and our current balance is $53,582. Our Parking in lieu of fund is used for providing additional parking, and current balance is $127,540. Cemetery Trust Fund, half of the sales on operation and maintenance, reimbursing $150,000 to general fund, half of the sales expandable on expansions or costs incidental to adding future sites, fund columbarium niches in FY27, and replacing admin building in FY26, cost of $660,000. On our capital improvement program, we're looking at $46.2 million over 6 years, $12.5 million in the next fiscal year. $4 million next year will be funded by grants, which is 31.9%. And the largest items for next fiscal year is $3.1 million in street work, $1.1 million in terminal apron expansion, $987,000 in the taxiway golf construction, which makes up $5.2 million of those largest items. Looking at your property values and millage, certified taxable values. The total certified taxable property value increased by $193 million or 8.4% above 2025. The additions account for $58 million or 2.55% of the increase, and reassessments were up by $134 million or 5.86% of the increase. This makes a rollback rate of 3.0148. The proposed millage we're asking for is 3.4455, which is an increase of 1/4 mil from the prior year. And it is less than the advertised trim notice of 3.5455. To use the rollback rate would require using over $1 million in reserves. And here's a list of our dollar value of tax roll additions, showing from 2016 to 25 of how they've increased. On this next slide, we took a picture of the total tax bill and broke it down for taxpayers. This is the breakdown of the ad valorem taxes that you'll see on the tax bill. And of each dollar that a resident would pay in their taxes, you'll see that the 36.1 cents goes to Indian River County. The Indian River County Schools gets 34.8 cents. City of Sebastian, 20.8 cents. The hospital district, 4.6 cents. And other taxing district is 3.7 cents. And you'll see the chart down on the bottom left that shows the actual millages and those millage percentages, as we just went over. So that's a total of 16.5389 mills that someone in the city of Sebastian would be paying, and this is how it's broken down. Getting to our millage rate options that we took, if you'll see the middle line here, it shows what our draft budget currently is, and that is the proposed millage rate of 3.4455, which is 1/4 mil increase. And as you'll see there, it shows a 14.29% increase over the rollback rate, and it balances our budget at zero. And taking a look at the impact of our millage rate on various homes, you'll see the different columns with the homestead exemption in the first three, and then without homestead in the following, the last three columns. And your average, some of the average home values and the tax bills they would see related to Sebastian, the city of Sebastian tax. Looking down, you'll see in gray the row is proposed rate. Someone with a homestead exemption with a home value of say $400,000 would see $123.68 increase. So that's how that chart would work. And without a homestead exemption, it'd be a bit more. A $400,000 home would show a $215.77 increase. Looking at a 20-year history on the next slide, is at or below the rollback rate. So you'll see the graph shows the rollback rate in blue and the final rate in the dark green. We do note that 55% of the time the city has gone with or below rollback rate. Some other considerations, the police contract coming for consideration on September 24th, and the supervisor union negotiations still ongoing. Prices continue to increase, but it's unknown, our current economic condition and what the future impacts of tariffs will be, and possibly interest rates. Setting the proposed millage for the trim notices. Sorry, that should have been taken out of that slide, that part of the trim notice. But it is currently 0.1 mils less than the trim notice, the current proposed millage. So, and it will be advertised at it will be a 14.29% increase. And that will be advertised in this Sunday's paper. So that's the advertisement that's talking about. Okay, in conclusion, staff requests you approve the tentative millage for the fiscal year 2026 at 3.4455 and set the second reading for September 24th.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Mr. Benton, you have anything to add to that?
Just want to, on one slide that we didn't get into this presentation, that I do want to bring to everyone's attention because it was well discussed last year during the budget process, is kind of looking at the solid waste fund. Last year we had discussed and how we were going to collect the WM trash collection fees. This past year was our first year collecting them on the non-ad valorem tax assessment. And discussions last year had shown that we probably would run at a deficit on those collections and have to dip into reserves to cover some portion of that. And sitting here today on pages 106 and then page 193 of the budget document shows that we are actually estimating to be about $21,000 above the amount that's been paid out. So it'll keep us kind of rolling into the next year and keep those things moving forward so we do not have to dip into reserves for our solid waste fund, which we, like I said, we set up a separate fund so that those funds, when they come in from the tax collector's office, get put directly into that fund and it isn't commingled with anything else. So I just wanted to highlight that. And then if there's any specific questions, department heads are here tonight, and we can try to attempt to answer any question you have in regards to the budget. And once again, we are recommending that the current budget as presented to you all tonight is balanced at 3.4455 millage, which is less than the trim notice millage, and it is 14.29% higher than the computed rollback millage rate.
All right, thank you. Council, any questions for Mr. Benton, Mr. Stewart?
Hi. I do have one question, and I know it's a state statute and you have to list it that way and you have to tell everybody that way. What is the actual tax increase from last year's rate? What is the percentage of that? Do we know that? I mean, I know it's 4.29 over rollback, but we didn't have rollback last year. We don't have rollback this year, but I know that's how the state says we have to advertise it and all of that, but what is the actual percentage of rollback of increase from last year's tax?
I don't have those calculations right in front of me. It's on my computer, but I don't have it in front of me, so.
I mean, I'm looking at the numbers and thinking it's, you know, like on a $400,000 house, it's like $99 instead of 123, doing simple math of the prior year rate compared to the proposed rate. But I just, you know, I'm curious what that percentage number, the actual tax increase is, because that's actually what we're increasing it. And once again, I know the state requires us to look at rollback rate for some reason, but it'd just be interesting to know that number as well. That's the only question I had, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. This time I'll open the public hearing on the fiscal year 25-26 tentative millage and tentative budget. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Grace Reed, Sebastian. I keep looking over there for you. I voted to approve the increased, higher millage during the budget process because I think I've voiced before that I'd like to hold on to money more than anything else. But I've been looking at everything and looking at the options and looking where the city's standing. And I just wanted to bring in an option or a consideration, and that would be to see if we could go ahead and use some reserves and go to rollback. And if not, what would be the biggest downturn to that? I mean, I know it's risky, and I'm not usually a risky person, but I'm thinking of the community as a whole. And I mean, if we can get the county to leave our assessments alone, maybe taxes wouldn't go up so much. But I just would like to see if we could consider the rollback and why or why not, why yes and why not, you know. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else from the public wish to speak on the millage or the budget? Anyone on Zoom? All right. Mr. Benton, could you go over, I know we had great discussions about this, if we dipped into the reserves and, you know, so we could go to rollback, what that would entail?
Yes, so I do just want to start off by reminding everyone that we are planning to utilize reserve dollars for a couple things already this year to make up the difference in our retirement contribution. That difference is going to be used from reserves. There's also, as we discussed at the first public hearing of our retirement account, a contribution to the employees that are not vested in the CWA account. So those two amounts kind of come together, equals somewhere in the $300,000 to $400,000 range that we are planning to utilize reserve funds for that. And so then taking on top of that, looking at what it would cost us this year to go to the rollback rate, as was previously mentioned, currently as shown in our budget, to go from our current draft budget to the rollback rate would require a little over $1 million, $1,038,827.39. In looking at the City of Sebastian's budget, we are very heavily on the personnel side. There are not a lot of one-time expenditures. I think when you go back and you start to look at our capital projects that are funded out of general fund, so I'm just trying to get that exact number. Capital projects that are funded out of general fund, it really totals only $123,905. Those are one-time expenses for the most part. That's $123,000. So what happens is if you start to take reserve funds to pay for recurring expenses, it then sets you already immediately that far in the hole the following year, regardless of what the increase is or decrease in property values. You're already setting yourself up roughly $1 million in the hole next year that we immediately have to make up for, not taking into account anything in regards to cost increases for running the city, cost increases for any equipment, day-to-day operations increases. All of those things do not come into effect. You're already starting at $1 million behind. So I just want to be careful on using, in regards to the government, you have to treat it the same way as your personal checking account and your personal savings account. If you start to dip into that savings account and utilize those funds, then you could potentially run into an issue when you do need those funds, and you have to make it up the following year. So it really would involve having to raise the millage next year and kind of recouping those funds and also funding those additional costs next year.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, council, any additional questions for staff?
Well, I think it would be great to be able to go to rollback. And I appreciate the comment that came about doing that, but I think there's a lot of factors involved in what we're going to be looking at in the city. We can't depend on FEMA if we have two big storms coming through here. That's becoming pretty evident right now that FEMA may not be a source to us. We might end up having $2 million or $1.5 million of our reserves that we have to pay out to clean up the city that we don't get reimbursed for. I think that's a real high likelihood that could happen. I know the economy is I guess I'll call it sick. Maybe it's anemic. I'm not sure exactly where it is. And I know people are going to be hurting, and I know we're going to end up going back into an inflationary cycle. At least I'm pretty sure of that. And that's gonna hurt people. But we also don't have any room in our city budget to handle any emergencies that come up within the city, other than that money we've got there. And we have staffing issues, for example, that, I mean, the city, if it was to satisfy the customers that it has, may well end up having to think about adding staff at some point in time. And we have no additional money in here to do that. So there's things that we might end up having to do with that. So I would love to see us go back. I commend Brian and the staff on being able to go from our trim notice amount back down to this amount. I mean, they pulled some strings getting that to get to that point within the budget. So I think I support the 4455, not because I don't want to go to rollback, but because I feel like that the city has no choice but do this. Take a look at the dollar bill and see that the county collects 36 cents and we collect 20. I mean, it's kind of a odd combination of things. Maybe it should be flipped the other way around. I don't know, but so. Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Jones?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Obviously, when you look at the breakdown of the dollar bill portion that our CFO posted up there, people can see, where the percentage of their dollars are going to. And we've went through the budget workshops and everything else, and we know that this budget is, it is at 3.4455, it'll be balanced. And that's something that we were looking at when we're in the budget process as well. And the staff has done a great job of cutting back and cutting back. I too do not want to, I wish we could go to rollback, but the fact is, it's going to cost us too much in the long run if we don't stick with at least 3.4455.
Thank you. Mr. Nunn?
It sounds enticing to, you need an extra $1,000 to pay all your bills, and it sounds enticing to take that $1,000 out of your savings to pay those bills. It's one thing to take that $1,000 to buy something extra. But if you're taking that money to pay your bills, you're going to need that same money to pay your bills next month and the month after and the month after. And that's where a rollback would put us, is we'd always have to pull the reserves for that extra money every time. And then we have no reserves and no ability to protect our city. So 3.4455 is the only answer.
That sounds good. And I'm glad we had our 2-day budget workshop in July, and you guys did an tremendous amount of work to get it down to where we could be even at 3.4455. And I think the dollar bill was a great addition in the budget overview. I mean, it really points it out for people to see the percentages that go by. So at this time, council, how you wish to move on resolution number R-25-31?
Mr. Mayor, I do want to say one last thing. Everybody always says whatever you set your tentative millage at, nobody ever goes down. Good job, staff, on getting it down.
Yep.
Really, good job. And I'll make a motion to approve, I forgot the number.
R-25-31.
Yeah, R-25-31. Thank you.
Second.
Change pages.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
And Mayor McPartlin?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Leads us up to item 5C, consideration of resolution number R-25-32, adopting the tentative budget for fiscal year 2025-2026. I wish to proceed on this. Okay.
Oh, she already read it. I'm sorry.
It's
she
already
read it.
been.
Yeah, she read it at the
She
beginning.
read this one, only the capital overlay.
No, she read both.
No, the capital, the next after. Capital improvement plan. That's next. But for the budget. I wish to proceed on R-25-32.
So we need two motions on the 20, okay, so you're going to do 32 now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Right, okay.
I move approval of R-25-32. Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor McPartlin?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right.
Did we need I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. The attorney said we needed 2 motions on that one? No?
No, she just meant the millage in the budget.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. And that leads us into item D, consideration of resolution number R-25-33, adopting the capital improvement program for the fiscal years 2026 through 2031. Madam Attorney?
Resolution number 2533, resolution of the City Council of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, adopting a 6-year capital improvement program for fiscal years ending 2026 to 2031, providing for conflicts, scrivener's errors, and effective date.
All right, Mr. Benton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So included in your packet is our CIP capital improvement project list for fiscal years 26 through 31. That is on page 39. It gives you a list of all of the projects throughout every single department within the city. The total for fiscal year 25-26 total is $12,479,308 in CIP, and that is split on the following page. Page 40 gives you a breakdown of how it's grouped by department, how it's grouped by function, and finally how it's grouped by funding source. And in looking at it, there's multiple funding sources that are utilized in this CIP, and page 40 gives you a clear breakdown of how that funding is allocated. And I do just want to point out, and I know Brian pointed it out in his PowerPoint slides, that we did make a couple of adjustments in order to come in line with the draft budget. We did pull sidewalk repairs in the amount of $120,000 out of general fund and put that into this local option gas tax. So that then reduced the amount that we had for preservation, road preservation work in that account. And then also a request came in, and the reason that the airport is funding showing a deficit next fiscal year is because they had a reserve that was reasonably healthy, and council had requested that we move some of their grant matching dollars out of discretionary sales tax and utilize airport reserves for that. So that's what we did. We moved those projects over to the airport, and that's where you'll see that that's all shown within the CIP plan as well. Other than that, we'll take any questions that you have.
All right, council, any questions for Mr. Benton?
I move approval of, God, I just put it away. What's the resolution number?
R-25-33.
R-25-33.
Second?
All right, we got a motion and a second. Anyone from the public wish to speak about the capital improvement program? Anyone on Zoom?
No one has raised their hand at this time.
Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor McPartlin?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Leads us up to consideration of resolution number R-25-34, adopting financial policies for fiscal year 2025 through 2026. Madam Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. City of Sebastian Resolution R-2534, a resolution of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, adopting financial policies governing various areas of budget and finance as provided for in Attachment A, providing for conflicts, scrivener's errors, and effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to get this started, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Stewart, who's our Chief Financial Officer. The financial policies throughout this document that begin on page 43, just one section that we had changes on. Everything else is the same as last year. So in your agenda packet, you have a red line copy, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Stewart to discuss the red line changes in section 6 that starts on page 47 in regards to the capital program policies. Mr. Stewart.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
All right, thank you. Real quick, to answer Mr. Nunn's question on the percent increase over last year's rate is 7.8%.
Thank you, sir.
So
That's real math.
That's real math, not state math.
that was a quick calculation, but yeah, so on the financial policies on 6B, my recommendation and staff's approval, we asked to increase the capitalization threshold on capitalizing your fixed assets to get them more in line with other cities, counties, and local governments. Most of those are at the 5,000 limit for equipment, and you'll see in 6B number 2, those thresholds that we recommended here. Most governments are now at these levels, so this is not an abnormal thing. And let me clarify that increasing from 750 capitalization to a 5,000 capitalization doesn't affect tracking of the items. So we can still track individual items that we want to make sure are here. We can inventory them, count them, make sure they're here, no matter the cost of the item. But that's through an inventory control system. And what the capitalization actually does is to take and take the life, expense an item over the life of the item. And this gets into your government-wide financial statements, and we do that through depreciation. So this is, rather than taking something that cost $1,000 and depreciating it over a certain number of years, it's going to have to be at least $5,000 before we start that depreciation cycle for equipment. And you'll notice land, of course, doesn't require a threshold. All of that gets capitalized. And land improvements, we're set at $50,000. Construction in progress, $50,000. right-to-use assets such as software as a service, things like that. You're looking at a 5,000 limit, and buildings improvements and building improvements other than buildings and infrastructure at 50,000. And then, like I was talking about, machineries and equipment, including vehicles, at 5,000 per item. The useful life on number 3 has not changed. It was your policy. I just wanted to put it here in writing. It was already in the audit report, so we're just transferring over. And then it defines depreciation. There was a couple of other small changes just to update the items in 8F. This was just to update the individual dollar amounts or remove them completely and opt for the percentage on such items as the reserve amounts, such as 5% of budgeted amounts on those items. So that was just updates. So I'd be glad to answer any questions on this one update.
Council, any questions for Mr. Stewart or Mr. Bowman? I wish to proceed with resolution number R-25-34.
I move approval.
Second.
Making a motion and a second. Anyone from the public wish to speak on the financial policies? Anyone on Zoom?
No one has raised their hand.
Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Councilmember Nunn.
Yes.
Mayor McPartlin.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones.
Yes.
And Councilmember Dodd.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And I just want to remind everybody that the final public hearing on the fiscal year 2025-2026 millage and budget will be held on September 24th at 6 p.m. Being no further business, we're adjourned. Good night.